There's a routine that he had created, and it was the president who was to get on the red phone to warn the Russian premier that this terrible accident had taken place and that an intercontinental ballistics missile was on its way to Moscow. And he picks up the phone and he's saying, hello, hello. No, I'm calling Moscow. It's the President of the United States. Hello, hello. Would someone... And he tries to get information on the red phone and so on. The censors were just horrified that such a thing could even be implied and just nixed it. And I think it hurt his feelings, and he never did the bit again.
So I went back to Chicago, and my manager at that time was Frank Hogan, and I said, that's how naive I was. I said, why don't you call NBC? This was Christmas. I said, why don't you call NBC and tell them to put another show in there. That, you know, I'm not enjoying this. He said, I'm not sure that's the way it works. So a day later, a vice president of MCA flew out and talked me back into doing the show because they were getting commission from the show. But you just can't say, I don't want to do this anymore. That isn't the way television works.
Thank you very much. I especially want to thank you. I want to thank the sponsors because they really were great, and NBC because they never interfered in some of the things we did. I wish they had a couple times, but they never did. And to you, you've been sending in very nice letters, and it's meant a lot to me. And although we are going off this year, and it doesn't look like we're going to be on next year, you can't really feel too badly about a year where you've made a couple of friends. So thank you very much, and good night. And let's hear the old theme, Pop.
I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it because the show was great. It was one of the better variety shows on television at that time.
I remember, I think it was just about a year before I started this show. 60, 61, you were working CBS for your show.
It was
61?
It was NBC.
NBC. You were nominated for an Emmy, and the show was off before the Emmy cast came about or something.
Well, no. What happened was it was a show that year, everybody who got an Emmy, I didn't get an Emmy, but the show got an Emmy as the best comedy show.
Right.
Every show that got an Emmy had been canceled.
I remember that. It was very strange.
Dick Van Dyke had been canceled, and I'd been canceled, and we got an Emmy, and every show had been canceled. And as the names were announced, people in the audience were going, no, no, no. I don't want it, please.
Bob's television career may have been unsatisfactory in 1962, but his love life definitely picked up, thanks in large part to fellow comedian Buddy Hackett.
Buddy and I did a benefit in L.A. Buddy said, you're Catholic, right? And I said, yeah, but I'm Catholic. He says, I have this friend of mine dating this Catholic girl. I'm going to fix you up on a blind date because I think the two of you belong together.
Virginia Quinn was a beautiful red-headed actress and the daughter of well-known character actor Bill Quinn.
And I know that my father was very into my mother, and my mother was, she is and was a very beautiful woman and had many suitors, and Bob Newhart was, just one of them.
I was afraid of marriage because I didn't think this whole thing was going to last very long, this celebrity. It's the way I felt in Chicago. If I wanted to screw up my life, that's fine. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm living at home. But if you get married and you have children, that's a big responsibility. And I don't know how good I am at this and how long I'm going to last,
So Bob and Ginny got married, and her father was Bill Quinn, and he was a very well-known character actor. And there's a great story. Supposedly, Tony Randall was at the wedding. There were a lot of show folks at the wedding. And he turned to somebody and said, oh, look who they got for the father. Which I think is adorable.
I didn't drive until after I was married. As a matter of fact, the day I got married, I drove out of the country club for about a block and a half, and then I stopped and pulled over. And then Jenny drove the rest of the way to our apartment. But it would have been too embarrassing, I mean, to, you know, your wedding, to get in the passenger side. And
Bob's wife is very outgoing. She also is very warm. One thing I noticed, when you're talking to her on the phone or when you were visiting with her and she was leaving, she'd say, "I love you." That sort of brought me up short. I thought, we don't ever say that. I mean, I wasn't complaining about it, but it was like, we're doing it wrong. And so in my mother's later years, when she was in the nursing home, whenever I would leave, and this is thanks to Jenny NEWHART, I'd say, "I love you."
I was married in 63. Rob was born in 63, 11 months later. Being good Catholics. And I was offered The Entertainers, which were Carol Burnett, Caterina Valenti, Dom DeLuise.
Now let's turn it on, huh?
It meant moving to New York, but again, because of the lack of confidence, this was a paycheck. This was going to be a paycheck every week that you were going to receive, and that appealed to me very much. That now I had the responsibility of a wife and a child, and I needed something solid, you know.
Carol Burnett got hurt her back, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and did a lot of the show from the hospital. That's true. And Bob would have to go to the hospital to do his sketches, which a lot of them needed repair. So it was quite handy. He could stitch up a lot of stuff right at the hospital. And a lot of them needed anesthesia, too.
And frankly, the show, it looked like it was shot in 3 different places. It didn't have a coherence. So to kind of punch it out, Jim Aubrey was president of CBS. He decided to bring Rock X in as a kind of a rating goose, you know. So pretty soon our audience was almost entirely teens. My humor didn't really appeal to teens. They were there to see whatever the English rock group was that week. So they just sat and kind of stared at us.
I'm not sure that Bob was well placed in that show. He really deserves to have a show of his own, as he's often told us.
Biography's look at Bob Newhart will continue. But first, Biofeedback asks, what is your favorite Bob Newhart?
Continues right here on Biography.
By the late 1960s, Bob Newhart was disheartened by his television experiences and instead focused on feature films.
Sergeant, from now on, I don't want anyone to come in and see me while I'm in my office. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. What do I say to people who want to come in and see you while you're in your office?
Tell them I'm in and ask them to wait.
For how long?
Until I've left.
I'm going to use the word surreal because the making of the movie was... They should have shot the making of the movie. I mean, it was unbelievable.
By 1970, Bob was an established comedy star and the proud father of 2. That same year, the habitual smoker starred in a film called Cold Turkey.
Well, the film is called Cold Turkey because it's about a little town of about 4,000 people, all of whom quit smoking.
We come into a town for 6 or 8 weeks, and we shoot the movie, and then we leave. But it affects the town years after a movie leaves. I'm sure people will figure out how old their children are by when the movie was shot here. They'll be saying things like, well, let's see, Johnny's 7 now, because he was born the year after Cold Turkey, and that was 8 years ago. And crazy Uncle Norman died, and he's been dead 4 years, because he died, he died during the actual filming. So the whole town, it's like the difference between AD and BC.
Bob's greatest success in the early 70s came in Las Vegas, where he performed his stand-up shows to sold-out crowds and spent his leisure time with his family and fellow comedians.
Why is it that we are good friends? Well, to be honest, I think it's a mistake, but I'm living it. Ginny and my wife Barbara knew each other long before there was a NEWHART and a Rickles association. And as girls will be girls, naturally the husbands eventually have to meet.
Ginny and Barbara Rickles, I mean, these incredible women who make a real life for these men. And they're not women who in any way are submissive. I mean, they're very strong in their own right, and, you know, women to take into account and not dismiss. And I think that a large part of Bob's career is because of Ginny. I think if he gets lazy about material, she's the one who'll say, okay, it's time for a new routine. He may do it kicking and screaming, but ultimately he knows that they're a team.
As weird as Vegas is, they kept a pretty normal life for us out there. I mean, we went to church on Sunday in Vegas, you know? It was the strangest thing. But, you know, that was always important to my parents, and still is.
I think they kind of always wanted a girl, so when I was born, it was like my dad and I had kind of a special bond, and I think I kind of milked it a little bit. I think so.
I remember always wanting to go down to the stage and stand in the wings, and you'd watch him or stand behind the curtain. And, you know, you hear the nights where things went well, and the other nights where he went up, and you just... It was tough. I remember, you know, the whole preparation, and you would never speak to him about 5 minutes before he was going on, because he would pace back and forth.
And my parents always make fun of this, but I used to, when I was a kid, I would count the empty seats in the back row of the showroom. And I didn't mean to bring my father down, but it's just like, I hated him having to do a Sunday night show because the room was half full. And it's like, I don't want my father to go through all that. He has to be a little nuts to want to do it, but he's courageous and nuts. So.
I went to do a Smothers Brothers show.
The producer said we want each team to go away and come back in an hour with the Bob Newhart sketch.
And Carl and Lorenzo wrote the air traffic controller.
Because Bob was so funny on the phone, here he was alone talking down all these planes. There was stuff going on that was funny. And in 45 minutes we'd written it, turned it in.
And I read it and liked it, and it worked.
Okay, United 222. We have radar contact. You're looking very good. Pan Am 174. Yeah, you haven't seen United 222 up there anyway. It's a great big plane. Yeah, it's got 4 engines on it, United painted on the side. You see him around anywhere, tell him we've been looking for him, all right? Listen, Pan Am, I'm going to have to put you in the holding pattern. How's your visibility, all right? Yeah, you see over the right about 4 miles? See all those planes over San Bernardino? Yeah, why don't you just grab a spot wherever you can find some... We'll get right back to you. Don't call us, we'll call you, all right?
In pinpointing what it is about Bob, the one thing he really does that was unique at the time and maybe still is, he listens funny. Because you know him, you know what makes him uncomfortable, and he's listening and he's going, uh-huh. And a psychologist has to listen to all kinds of weird stuff.
Lorenzo Music and David Davis, junior writers on The Mary Tyler Moore Show, wrote a pilot for a new series tailored especially for Bob.
My manager, Arthur Price, was one of the founders of MTM, along with Mary Tyler Moore.